Hello there and welcome, and this is Lewis for another YouTube video. Today we have a guest interviewer, Miss Leslie.
Patrice Graham Wilson.
Welcome, Leslie.
No, thank you for having me, Lewis.
You are more than welcome. It is my pleasure to have you.
Of course.
Well, we're going to be doing a video on the topic. Today's topic is reincarnation, and my knowledge or experience or what I think I believe about it, and I'm going to give the mic, so to speak, over to Leslie.
Well, the first line of questioning, Lewis, is what is reincarnation? Let's not assume the audience knows what reincarnation. What do you call it again?
Reincarnation.
Oh, okay. Reincarnation.
Yes.
What is that?
That's a very astute question. It's a very astute of you to not make any assumptions,
Thank
to
you.
assume that the audience knows what it is. Reincarnation, I believe, is basically when it occurs when a person passes away and his or her soul or consciousness leaves the body, that particular body permanently, enters a spiritual realm for a certain amount of time, and then on some level makes the decision to re-enter the earth plane, what we call physical reality, in the form of a new human body, in the form of a baby human. It could be the same family, it could be some other family, it could be a different gender, a different race or culture, a different part of the world even.
So the person's reborn?
It's a rebirth of sorts, yes. Not rebirth or born again in the sense of what certain religions refer to. It's not just a metaphoric rebirth, it's a literal rebirth of that person's consciousness.
Now, you refer to the soul, the consciousness.
Right.
What is a soul? Because how do you even know you have a soul? What does that mean?
To me, what I gather from just my own meditating, my own thinking, many books I've read on metaphysics over the years, I've heard this. The definition that I like the most is the organizing principle or the organizing consciousness of the person. The part of the person that's aware of him or herself, aware of his or her surroundings, conscious of life and the world around him.
So we can't see
it. It's invisible.
It's invisible.
Right.
Okay.
It would be the part of you, excuse me, right now that not the part of you that's beating your heart. That would be an involuntary muscle reaction, I guess, or the part of you that's breathing, also an involuntary muscle reaction. I would say it's the part of you that's not only asking me questions, but selecting what questions to ask me. The writer, the idea maker, and the questioner.
Now, what proof do you have that reincarnation exists?
I like that question because a lot of people don't believe that we have what's called empirical or hard scientific proof for reincarnation, and I believe they're wrong. You see, I don't just see it as a religious idea, that reincarnation comes from Eastern religions like Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, and it's from the Eastern religions. I think that it's a universal truth, and I think that we don't just have experiential proof. I think we have empirical or hard scientific proof for it as well, and this is what I think it is.
Well, can you provide it, please? I'm anxious. I'm so anxious.
Do I have you? Wait. Do I have
you?
You?
My attention.
Are you on the edge of your seat?
Oh boy!
I don't want you to fall over.
My ass is hanging off.
I like that.
Thank you.
Well, there are many kinds of proof, but the hardest scientific proof, I think, or the most empirical proof for reincarnation, I think, stems from past life regressions or spontaneous memories of children where they're able to recall specific names, dates, places of a previous life that an investigator, such as the hypnotherapist, him or herself, the parents of the child, or someone who just investigates what the person claimed to be, who the person claimed to be in a past life. For example, let's just take the name Joe Johnson. Okay, so now Joseph Johnson claims to have been Benjamin Smith in a past life, who lived in a particular town in Ireland, let's say in the 1940s, where he had died in a car accident in his 50s or 60s, and then reincarnated as Joseph Johnson, let's say in Jersey City, New Jersey, for example. And let's say that he had a particular wife, let's say 3 children, lived in a particular house, a particular address in this town in Ireland. Let's say Dublin,
Okay.
Ireland. An investigator will go to Dublin, Ireland, check the town hall records, and find that there was indeed a Benjamin Smith, did I say? Benjamin Smith, who had that exact wife with that exact name that he
Wow.
gave while under regressive hypnosis,
Right.
and that and the 3 children's names will check out, the house will check out, the address, all of the details he gave of the house, the attic, the basement of the house. There may be even some pictures or photographs tucked away in an attic somewhere or in a closet within the house. So there are vivid details. There may be a store nearby that sell a particular brand of cigarettes or cigars, other products that they still sell these many years later.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think, I mean, if that's not empirical evidence, what would be?
Precisely.
Yeah. How else? What I can't imagine what else could be, empirical evidence.
Do you think that,
Yeah.
for example,
Want to have some water?
please?
Please. Would you like some water?
Oh no, thank you.
Sure.
Do you think that we can willfully decide to be reincarnated in a certain year, projected year? Like, let's say, I'd like to come back into existence in the year 2090. Can I will that? Or is it something when you say that somehow the soul or consciousness makes a decision to enter a new
Right,
baby's life?
right.
Like, how much power do we have over that?
Right. How much
Over
autonomy?
yes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because through the many, many years, to be honest with you, I've read different kinds of books and I've watched various documentaries, including right here on YouTube and on TV and so forth. And I would say, I don't know what percentage, maybe 50% come from what's called trans-channelers or psychics who believe they are channeling wise spirits that give information about this. In other cases, it comes from, I don't like to use the word patient, I guess clients who have had hypnotic past life regressions, and researchers or the past life regressionist himself, for example, will write books using case studies, in other words, of patients or clients he or she has regressed. So from various sources, about half of them will say in the interlife state, what we think of heaven, the afterlife, the astral plane, the life and the spiritual life in between lives, the person's consciousness, what we might think of as our ego consciousness, makes the decision as to when he or she will reincarnate, and yes, can choose various eras, even the past.
Nice.
Because time is an illusion. So, suppose we can reincarnate into the past or the future. And the balance, or the other half, the other 40 or 50%, would say, no, it's not our ego consciousness that makes these decisions. It's our higher self. The part of us that's most connected with, you want to use the word God or the universe, the higher order principle, the divine force or spark in the universe kind of makes that decision for us based on our current level of growth and what lessons we would need to learn in the next life, which we may not have a conscious awareness of. But then, it's kind of interesting because the ego consciousness kind of blends into the higher consciousness, from what I understand, in the afterlife. And excuse me, and we do have access to all of our past lives, all of our past life memories.
Okay.
Excuse me. And so at that point, it's hard to say. I think it's a combination of higher self and ego self, kind of like a student, a college student, working in conjunction with a college or university counselor.
Oh, nice.
Where it's kind of a combination of both their decisions.
Well, here's a question for you, Professor Gallo. Do you think that we are all necessarily a product of reincarnation? That this is just a natural process that...
Well, the one thing that all of the authors, as diverse as they are and as different as they are from one another, the one universal, I guess, principle or idea amongst all of them is that everyone reincarnates. The ones that believe in reincarnation, or that feel they've proven it, or conducted or experienced past life regressions, they all believe that, yes, we all do reincarnate.
Over and over again?
Yes. Some have more lives than others, or have had more lives than others.
Is this a necessary process? Is reincarnation necessary for some kind of an evolution of sorts?
This is what I get from various books I've read. I like to call it the research I've done. Makes it sound more important.
Yes.
So I've been researching it or reading about it since my high school years. I'd say since age 17. I had an English teacher that turned me on to it, Mr. Russo, Vinny Russo from St. Al's High School.
Oh,
And I'm 53 going on 54 now at this time of filming here. And today's date, by the way, is February 7th,
yes.
2014.
Yes.
So, okay, there's two tracks in terms of what kinds of souls there might be. There are groups of souls or various kinds of souls that never come into the physical experience.
Okay.
They've only been spirits, or they've only been part of what we would think of as the ethereal or astral planes or realms, the spirit realms. They've never known physicality. Some religions or religious thinkers might think of them as angels, guardian angels, that sort of thing. But then there are entities that decide to enter the physical or system, or we call the reincarnational cycle, in order to, this for two reasons, just for the sake of experience, to have fun, and to learn and grow spiritually. It's funny because I remember reading a book that stated everybody thinks that the only purpose of reincarnation or being on the earth, because Earth is supposed to be a spiritual school, which I think it is, that it's for spiritual growth only. But it's kind of like going to an amusement park. When you go to an amusement park, you don't go there necessarily to learn or
Right.
grow. You go there to have fun and to,
That's
just for the
right.
sake of the sheer fun of the experience,
Yes.
the exhilaration of the experience.
Yes.
And so that's part of why people would choose the reincarnational cycle. But it's kind of like, I have read this, once you enter the reincarnational cycle, you don't really opt out and then decide to do the spiritual cycle only. In other words, once you decide upon the reincarnational cycle, there's certain goals or lessons you set out to learn to become a more well-rounded soul, I guess, if you will, and then ultimately break the cycle once you've graduated, so to speak. And then from that point on, you can become like an oversoul or enter the higher realms and not have to reincarnate again, unless you choose to, by the way.
So here's a question for you. I
Sure.
have lots of questions for you.
I love these questions. These are great.
So let's
Oh my
say,
God.
thank you,
Definitely.
no problem. You know.
Mhm.
So let's say you and I, husband and wife,
Right.
and we.
You mean we're not?
No, not anymore.
Oh, we used to be.
No, we
Oh,
used to
yeah,
be.
you're right.
Okay. We can forget these things sometimes. So you and I, let's say we die together by way of an accident.
Okay.
Now, after our death, can our souls decide that we want to be together in the future in the lives of others? You know, in the rebirth somehow?
Like a group soul
Can we
type of thing.
design to meet up again?
Oh, yeah, yeah. In
You
fact,
know what I mean?
I've read over and over again that there is such a thing as group reincarnation, where
Oh.
many people do reincarnate, as you just suggested in your question, in the form of groups. In other words, many people will decide to meet up again in the next life to further their growth because of unresolved conflicts or unresolved karma, as it were. Yeah.
What about,
Very possible, yes.
do you think that we have the ability to recognize a familiar soul because we've been with that person previously?
Is it okay if I answer this one question with a question, a rhetorical
Yes.
question? Have you ever had, well, not a rhetorical question, but a real question. Have you ever had the experience, Leslie, where you've met someone for the first time at a conference, in a class, at a party, at an event, where you feel like you've known this person forever?
Yes.
You have had that.
Yes.
Some people think that that means that you have known this person in one or more or even several lives. Yeah. And the group thing, by the way, is evidenced by past life regressions, where people will say under past life regression, okay, my mother now was my sister or daughter in a past life. And this has come out in past life regressive monologues, dialogues as well, between the hypnotherapist and the client who's under hypnosis. Yeah, the client under hypnosis will, in other words, the hypnotherapist will ask the person who's under hypnosis, who, your current husband or wife, who were they to you in a past life, if they figured into your past life at all. Yeah.
Do you find, generally speaking, do you find most people find the whole idea or the notion of reincarnation to be gibberish?
Most people. I think, I don't know, I'm not really good with statistics, but from what I recall, there is quite a number of people in America alone that do believe in reincarnation. Of course, in the East and in India, there's a much higher percentage because it's part of the prevalent, I guess, religions, Eastern religions in that part of the world. I think that America's catching up, not only in terms of holistic medicine
Mm-hmm.
and other spiritual practices, but in their belief in reincarnation or in their open-mindedness to the possibility of rebirth being a real process and not
Right.
just an idea or a
So
concept.
how does this whole notion of reincarnation, how does this mesh with or go with the whole concept of God? What's the, people will say there's no such thing as this reincarnation. God dictates your life from beginning to end. There's
Right,
no
right,
consciousness deciding on I want to be reborn.
right.
God dictates that. How
Okay.
dare you suggest
Oh,
otherwise?
that's right. Well, as you know, because I'm going to be upfront with our YouTube
Yes.
audience and listeners, that I do respect everyone's ideas and everyone's ability to have whatever either spiritual or religious idea they naturally have.
Yes.
But I myself am not a proponent of organized religion. I would say I'm spiritual, but not religious. And
Yes.
however, I would say there are certain religions, like the Eastern religions, that come very close to, or I come very close to their ideas. In other words, our
Mm-hmm.
ideas mesh. And on the Western front, so to speak, I think Mormonism has the right idea in terms of that people, after so much evolution, can actually become part of the Godhead, the Godhood, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. They can become a God. I think we're already all a part of God. So
Okay.
to me, God means the universal force of which we are all a part, whether and I mean, our ego consciousness may not be aware of it, but in meditation, we can tap into it.
Mm-hmm.
When we practice the law of attraction or manifestation, which is in other videos, we can tap into that God force or universal energy.
Yes.
So I think that it's kind of like saying, who choose? I mean, how does reincarnation chime in with God? It's just a natural part of life. I think it's a natural process, no different than living or dying, no different than dreaming, no different than meditating or anything else we might do that's spiritual or physical.
Mm-hmm.
It's just natural.
Okay.
And I think that anything that's natural is a part of God. Like, and a lot of people will say, oh, reincarnation, that's against my religion. Well, to me, reincarnation is like the law of attraction is a real force. It's a natural force. So saying that's against my religion is like saying electricity is against my religion.
Right.
It's
Right.
just, it's a force, you know.
So what are your intentions for the future? Are you planning to just further research
I
reincarnation?
am. I am. I would like to find a past life regressionist that I'm comfortable with, that I think is very effective, and maybe have some past life and future.
How?
There's past life regressions and future life progressions. So we can find out who we will be in the future, or probable futures, because it's not fixed in stone, so to speak.
And being a devil's advocate, what if someone says, "Who the hell cares about this whole reincarnation thing? What's the point? Isn't it pointless? Who cares? You're dead. You're dead."
I love it. You see, the thing is, I would never push my opinion, my thoughts, or even this topic on anyone that's coming from that space, because everybody has their own thinking, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Certainly,
Yes.
I respect that. But I think that, and just my own personal prejudice or preference, or just my own personal belief system, is such that I think we have different levels of spiritual evolution. I think that people that believe in an afterlife, people that believe in anything spiritual, such as reincarnation, I think the reason why they're able to be open-minded enough to conceive of such a thing is because they've had enough lives and enough
Mm.
experience in those lives that brought them
So
to
they're
this
ready.
place.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that someone who has lived less lives is less of a person
Right.
or less valuable. Oh, no, not at all.
Yes.
That's like saying a 27-year-old or a college student is more valuable than the kindergarten student.
Yes.
No, that's not the case. It's just
Yes.
we're on different levels of knowledge,
Okay.
spiritual knowledge, spiritual growth.
I
Yeah.
have an idea. I think we should close here,
Yeah, we have to, in fact. Yeah.
and I think part two should involve the results of your past regression experience. Would that
Okay.
be okay?
We
You
will
can
talk.
share the result with us. Do you
Well,
plan to?
I'm thinking maybe if you're willing to stick around, part 3 or 4, because I do have more to say,
Oh,
even
sure.
without having
Okay,
been regressed.
that's fine.
Actually, I have been regressed. We'll talk about that in a little while.
Fine. Thank you.
I want to thank you for having you on the show,
Oh
however off camera
no.
you may
Oh
be.
no.
I think it gives you a certain aura of mystery. It
Perhaps.
makes our audience hungry to see what you look like now that they know what you sound like.
It's my reincarnation talking.
It really
It
is.
really is. No, really.
Like,
I mean, no,
thank
really.
Leslie. I thank again Leslie Patrice Graham Wilson.
Thank you, but of
With
course.
myself, Lewis. And we thank you for tuning in. And
And
any
have a good night.
questions you'd like to submit, that would be great.
Please.
Enjoy your evening.
Yes.
Take care.
God bless.
Yes.